have a report that man-pets showed up. Keep your eyes wide open. Repeating, extreme attention on the routes. Return fire mode. Repeating, roll your heads at 180 degrees. Return fire. Speed up missions performance and leave the area. Over.
Hey, welcome back to the Vergeev Group campaign. This is Barbecue, and the briefing should continue here in a second while I finish the startup.
Речевой информатор исправен.
233 on air. Fulfilling takeoff chart. Requesting Naval. Yes, 233. Naval here. How are you? In good mood today, Naval. Do you have anything for me? Armistice in the present box. Good news, Naval. 233, this is Naval. The main consideration in this flight mission is not to trespass the state border. Armistice stays armistice, but no occasions must be provided. I have to remind you that we have already lost 234 in gross violation of operational officer instructions. The pilot was shot down and captured. The serious efforts are now being taken to set him free. 233 reading you, Naval. Border must not be crossed. Affirmative, 233. You got it right. Border trespass prohibited. Stable takes off in 10 minutes. Hurry up with startup chart. Take your aircraft into the air. The route is open. Roger that, Naval. The route is open. Taking off. Take a look around when entering the area. The turret is observing only foot targets on that side. Man-pads and armored vehicles are somewhere there as well. We got our Highlanders' goats hard, and thus they won't lose chance to play trump cards. Stay in the area but don't hover like a lace. Maneuver without leaving until stable is finished with mission. Withdrawal upon stable command. Do you copy, 233? 233 copies that very well, Naval. Operate in area with constant evolutions. Stay in the zone. Withdrawal upon order from stable. This is Naval, confirming. 233 understood correctly. Over.
Okay, so that's it for the briefing. We've got to keep an eye on Stebble, who is going to be evacuating some of our teams at the same location we were last time. And let me go ahead and finish my startup and we'll get going here.
Смотри экран. Смотри экран.
So basically, we have to go back to that same area and keep an eye on the Stebble flight while they evacuate those soldiers, and we shouldn't just sit there and hover watching the border. We need to maneuver around a little bit. Basically the idea being we don't want to be just like a sitting duck. So we'll get going here for our steer point, and looks like I'm got some kind of stuttering going on again. Hopefully that won't translate into the video. I wanted to mention that I was really happy to see, you know how on YouTube when you get, like I was watching one of my narrations and it shows similar videos. And I saw this one that said Ultimate Immersion Vergeev Group, and I was like, whoa, what's that? And sure enough, there was a user, Lindemann, who has been creating videos of himself going through the missions and narrating a bit throughout his execution of each mission. And I just thought that was awesome, and you know, that's the reason I did this. Not the narration, but all the time spent in updating the campaign so that it would work with DCS World, the current version. And I just think it's awesome. So just wanted to give a nod to Lindemann. Keep up the good work, and I hope everyone else is enjoying the campaign as much as I have.
223 on cycle control point. Proceeding according to plan.
You know, you really have to, just an observation, you know, I finally can be pretty confident in saying that I feel comfortable flying the Ka-50. And, you know, it's been that way, ever since I pretty much finished the testing for the campaign while updating it. So within the past year, and of course, you know, I haven't flown the Ka-50 ever since it was born in Blackshark 1. It's not like I've been flying it nonstop since then. You know, I've taken huge diversions into other aircraft, or just not having time. And well, I just wanted to say, be patient for any newcomers. It takes time, trial and error. You know, you can read all you want about it from great sources, but it doesn't translate into instantaneous comfort in the aircraft. You have to apply what you've read, and you know, sometimes there'll be little details that seemingly are correct that you've read maybe on the forum somewhere, but maybe they're not, and that might lead you down the wrong path. And you know, it just takes time to get really comfortable flying this, and I think that's the best part. You know, it's the struggling, the research, and then putting that to practice, and you know, taking one system at a time and focusing on it. First focusing on how to operate the aircraft, how the autopilot channels work, how to navigate. And you know, if I could do it all over again, you know, I'd start with that, and I wouldn't turn that master arm switch on, you know, for at least 6 months until I had mastered the non-weaponry systems of the aircraft. And that would be like flying 8 hours a day. And then taking one system at a time, and then finally when you do move to the fire control systems, to take again one system at a time, and just the cannon, and you know, learning how to change the rate of fire, and how to center, how to stabilize your hover so that you've got enough motion in the yaw axes to be able to fire the weapon and keep it on target. Changing the rate of fire, changing the length of how long you can depress the trigger while rounds come off.
223 on control points, 3 according to plan.
Changing the round itself from high incendiary to armor piercing, and seeing what kind of effect that has on various targets. You know, sometimes you'd think, oh, well that's armored, whatever it may be you're looking at, and some of the armored vehicles, because they're not armored very well, can really react violently to the high incendiary rounds, where it might take 3 or 4 other rounds to completely destroy the vehicle. So all kinds of little details. And then there's rockets, and then there's different kinds of rockets, and there's bombs, and they're all modeled to an almost obsessive level of detail. There's a YouTube video out there with I think the guy was actually a JTAC or something, because he knew what he was talking about clearly, and he was rather looking at the A-10, the Warthog, and it was one of the sub-munition containers, and he was amazed basically when he first checked it out to see just how much they had modeled in terms of the doors opening and how the individual bomblets reacted physically, and when they have different stages, And then of course you can change the settings for those different stages, and it just was all modeled just perfectly. And you know, so it's not like you just spend a half an hour, okay, I got rockets, I'm good, you know, I know how to fire rockets. You just have to, you really want to understand everything so that when things go wrong, you know what to do to fix it, if that's possible. But if you don't understand the systems in that level of detail and something goes wrong, you definitely won't have a chance at fixing it. Anyway, just my humble opinion, but again, I think that's the best part. That's the fun. And I mean, yeah, sure, I enjoy flying now, especially now that I'm comfortable. But eventually I'll get sick of this because it won't be a challenge anymore. And I'm not saying that, oh, you know, I'm like some genius or something and it's going to get boring. I mean, it's taken me a long time to get to this point. And the good thing is about DCS is that right when you think you've got one covered, they come out with a new one. And I'm like backlogged because I can take off, land in the P-51 Mustang, but definitely am not comfortable in it, and definitely have not even attempted a dogfight yet. I've got a lot of time I need to get in on that. The Huey, I can take off and land, that's it. No comfort level at all. And the Mi-8, I can take off and land with 0 comfort. You know, so it's like, the A-10, I've pretty much got that one under my belt, along with this Ka-50. But you know, so there's 3 that are outstanding, and then we've got DCS World War II coming out with an Me-262, a Bf-109, a Spitfire. I mean, there's not enough time. I'm not going to be able to get to this level of comfort with all of those, you know, let's see, 2 helicopters, the P-51, a couple other warbirds, and they're just going to keep coming out with them. So I don't even know which one I'm going to hit. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the P-51 because of this World War II Europe that's going to be coming out. So at least I'll be able to have some fun with that. And then after the P-51, I'll start in on some other aircraft and start with just the navigation and slowly move on to the weapon systems and go to the next one. By the time I get done, you know, I'll be like 130 years old. But I'll be happy. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox and get back to the mission here. We're just about to the area of operations. So there's an armistice, and there's Stubble, I think. No, that's who I'm relieving. Stubble should be behind us, and he's going to be evacuating some of our team. So we just need to get up here. Should be right around the corner here. Do I still have on my... talking too much. Turn off beacon. Although in this mission, since there's an armistice, it's actually not a bad idea. Should probably keep it on so those guys, as if they can't hear me, but I want them to know that I'm here. I'm going to turn on all the lights. Oops. There we go. This is the area right here. So we want to stick around here and maneuver back and forth. It's a good mission to practice your low-speed maneuvering, just like those earlier missions where we were escorting Tauros and those other guys.
2-3, open control points 10, firing range.
Okay, so for example, let's stabilize into some kind of hover. You know, this is one where you can really examine how the hover system works. So it looks like we've got enough range on the collective to be able to maintain our altitude right here, and we've got a nice hover, stable. We're not moving anywhere. Here's another place that you can see your vertical velocity, and this cross on your HSI is your original hover position. So if we, and by the way, I've got the, I'm on the radar altimeter. I want to switch that to the barometric, and if you've seen any of the previous videos, you know why. So, for example, if I just push to the left on the stick, you see that bar moving over to the right, and then I'm going to let go of the stick, and it should start moving back to the left. Sometimes it's a little bit slow. Sometimes it's really slow, and sometimes the stick's not really centered. Yeah, see, there it goes. We're definitely moving. 11 knots, 10. Okay, here it comes. So it's going to move back to the center. So it's an indicator of how we are offset from the initial state position when we engaged the hover. And this bar is going to represent our vertical axes and deviation from the original state of the hover. So it's able to track both up and down and side to side. So if we, for example, kick up the collective, that should go down. Which it is. So wherever it is, you want to go in that direction. So if it's down, you want to go down. If it's way up here, you need to increase the collective. So all I've done is decrease the collective to give it enough range so that it can go back down to where it was, and then it should settle where we had originally set the hover.
315 took off and entered the route.
Okay, so Stebble's finally showing up, looks like. I better move around a little bit, just because we were told not to be a sitting duck. So I'm going to move forward. Okay, you know what? I was completely wrong about the elevation. This indicator is going to show our deviation forward or aft of our original position. So my apologies. Okay, I'm still learning stuff. So if we go ahead and help it out and pull back, also I didn't have enough range in the collective for the auto collective to work, so I just bumped it up a little bit. So it's going to be rising back up to wherever we originally were. Okay, boom. See there? We just passed. We just went over, backed over our original position. And I'm going to jostle the stick and let it just center itself. And we should go right back. After all this movement we've done, left, right, backwards, forward, up, down, it should ultimately center itself back up. And it's getting there. These dots, you You can look it up in the manual, but they represent a certain amount of deviation. I think it's in degrees, but it's an indicator of just how far away you are from that original hover position. So all of this is to say that, you know, it's all about that stable hover platform and how you can really get confused and frustrated when you think you're in a stable hover and your head's down at the cheval checking things out, and you know, it's like you've got auto turn to target on and it won't point towards the target, and it seems to be going like it's got its own mind and it's going left and right, and or maybe you're firing the gun, and because of the yaw, because you're not in a stable hover, you've totally got it locked up. It's only 1 kilometer away and you're missing it, and you don't understand it, and you start messing around with other things thinking that, oh, maybe I need to reset the laser, maybe I need to turn the laser off and back on again. It really has nothing to do with that. It's because you're not in a stable hover and you haven't trimmed out the yaw for that hover position. So you can see how it's like this domino effect of confusion when all these systems interact with each other, and the stability is the key. I'm going to move around a little bit more. Actually, let's go back to our original position. Another indicator of your deviation from your original position is this square right here. And let's see, let's get back, help it out a little bit, get back to that original spot. Now when everything's stabilized and you're in your original position and you've got 0 velocity in any direction, that's annoying. That's our warning. I'm going to go ahead and turn that way down. Okay, so here we are at 0. Now you should be able to disengage the hover and we shouldn't move much. Let's see what happens.
316 on the route. I'm in game.
Naval to 316. No pokers 316. Aligning. Meaning over.
Okay, so it looks like that auto hover was actually having to input a little bit of forward pitch, because the way that we've trimmed out the helicopter, it's just barely wanting to come back a little bit at 3 knots, so, or kph. And let's see if we can trim it so that it doesn't want to go back or forward. Okay, that was no good. You know, it's very subtle, these movements, and trim, manipulating the trim and resetting it. The inputs on the stick are tiny. Like, I'm barely trying to push on the stick to get it just right. That we're back to 3. I mean, this is a bit, you know, obsessive here, but I wanted to make a point, which is you can nail a hover manually. Like so. Well, close enough, but I think you get my point. Now, if we had pitched, I'm going to re-engage this. So it's got plenty of range in the various inputs, that 20% and all of the inputs that it can manipulate in order to maintain the hover. It's got plenty of room to do that here, since we got so close to being in a hover already. But if we pitch down 10 degrees or 5 degrees like this, ooh, something's happening, and then trimmed it like that, it wouldn't have, the 20% wouldn't be enough to have it pull back on that particular input, to pull back and maintain the hover. It wouldn't be able to do it. Okay, it's not liking my recording, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it here, because really you just have to wait, and it's kind of a long time. You have to wait for Stubble to take care of its business, and he releases you and you RTB. But I'm having some issues here, and my main goal was to basically talk about the hover like I have, and since that's been done, I'm gonna go ahead and call it, and I'll see you guys in mission number 16.